I want to thank you again for joining me for our discussion of tech demos as a part of the G method of software development for novice programmers in the CS2, our second term of the freshman course. As I mentioned in some earlier tapes, there are usually about 8 technologies that students need to master in a Windows.NET environment or a C#.NET environment in order to be able to put together a complete casino system, including not only multiple clients, as well as backroom player accounting and control system. I have here the 8th technology demo to demonstrate for you, which represents what you would be asking a student to do after about 8 weeks in the course. Remembering that these students start this course having never done a Windows program whatsoever of any kind, so they could not have put up a simple image on a window. They had only had one term of console programming prior to entering the CS2 course, or at least that's our assumption as they begin the course. So as I mentioned in an earlier tape and illustrated, Tech Demo 1 started out very simply, putting up a crap table, being able to do a little simple login, and being able to cycle through a directory so you could show a variety of different dice. Well, Tech Demo 8 becomes quite sophisticated, but after 7 or 8 weeks of working under the system that I've described in other tapes, they've assimilated a massive amount of knowledge, primarily on an independent study basis, predominantly using cooperative learning or peer-to-peer learning with other students, so that after about 8 weeks they're actually able to do a full client-server communication technology demonstration. This is actually the last piece of the puzzle that they need to master in order to begin to work on the final aspects of putting together a complete gaming system. And so you'll notice over on the right-hand screen, the client has already been brought up as the server, and the server is waiting for the client to actually get connected. That's what I've asked the students to do, is to be able to connect the client to a server and pass information up to the server, which updates a database. That simulates, if you will, what they're going to actually do in their casino system, is they're going to have to be able to, obviously if a player logs on and he plays craps and he's losing or winning money, that information has to be sent up and logged against an account database on the server side. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to have to identify the appropriate server by host name, which was very nicely done by the student. This is actually student code here that I'm demonstrating rather than my own executable, which I gave the students as to what they were supposed to be able to create. So we've asked for a connection, and we over here report that client 1 in fact has connected. So we are now ready to be able to send information from the client to the server. This is a very nice piece of student code, imitating pretty well what we asked them to do in terms of displaying a database, in terms of displaying a text window, revealing the information that's flowing up from the client. You'll soon see that there's also a text window to display an unparsed text string of the information that's being sent or simulated, if you will, from a casino gaming system. And then there are a variety of other functions that we've asked them to put in this technology demonstration. So I'm going to go back over to the client, and I'm going to send some information, the name, PIN, and account number, and some assets to the server from the client, which is helping the student to master the technology necessary in order to send information from a gaming platform to the back room. So I will log in here as Chris, it looks like, has about $3,000 of assets. So I will send some information. We'll simulate that Chris is playing at a gaming table. His PIN number, 111337. His password is 1 through 9, or his account number is 1 through 9. And then in the database, we show that Chris has $3,000 of assets. I'll imagine that he has won some amount at the gaming table, and so we will put in a number of $3,500, and we'll send that up to the back room and see that logged into the system. Again, it's logged on the window. You'll notice it comes in as an unparsed input. which has the account number, the PIN, his name, and the new asset number. I asked the students after it came in unparsed to actually display that information in text boxes, so he has actually parsed the string and separated all of the different values into the appropriate text box, and now he can click on to update the player information, which I will do here. And again, then you'll notice now that Chris's information has now been changed and his account balance is at $3,500. There are other functionalities that I won't describe in the name of brevity for this tech demo, but you'll notice he also has a query window that I will display here, where he might represent himself as being a casino floor manager in the back room and wants to know all of the players who have above $1,000, for example. And perhaps he also then wants to know the players that are at risk of going into a debit situation and who might have less than $100. So this kind of represents the kind of technology that a student is able to develop entirely on his own. Remember, I display for my students an executable just like this that they can access and run as many times as they want. However, part of the G method is that we do not reveal any code solutions to the student. They have to investigate, research, and uncover the solutions for these kinds of problems entirely on their own. That's the way we have found that massive knowledge can be assimilated. We do not have the students wait for an instructor to lecture them as to how to do something. In fact, we avoid lectures completely in our classes because we find that they slow our students' learning down tremendously. So this great piece of code demonstrated by the Bloodhoof team was a very, very nice example of the kind of work that students can do, whereas 8 to 10 weeks earlier, he couldn't have even put his picture up on the window. And yet here he is 8 weeks into it, entirely on an independent study basis, cooperating with his teammates to master the technology to put together a very nice client-server piece of code. This is the actual 8th of the technology demos. And that's about all you really need in order to do a full casino system, starting from a very simple crap image, which I showed you earlier, to now a full client-server communication. Now with these, with their quick prototypes that I'll be discussing in another tape, they are now ready to go into the last 5 weeks of the course, where they'll begin integrating their client games into one common system where a player can select what game he wants to play or move from game to game. And then whenever he's playing on any game, the assets are always trapped and sent up to the server side, and an accounting system is maintained on the server in the back room of the casino. So thank you for joining me today, just listening to our discussion of the technology demonstration portion of the G method.